Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the studios of Grafton TV here at 26 Providence Road. This is Meet the Candidate. I'm Bob DeToma. I have a guest in studio. Her name is Elizabeth Spinney, and she is running for re-election to the school committee, and she is currently the vice chair.
That's right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good. Great to be here.
Thank you. Glad to have you. I wanted to start off with a couple of compliments. You were the only candidate that has ever sent in a CV. Although I didn't read it in detail, the one thing I did pick out as I was trying to picture you standing in front of the TV screen saying, Elizabeth Spinney, the Ohio State University, like the football players.
That's the name, yeah.
That was my fun thing for the week.
Yeah, well, we have to be precise. It is the Ohio State University, so.
We got that covered. We don't have to worry about offending anybody. Why don't you give everybody a quick bio for the members of the town who may not be familiar with who you are?
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Elizabeth Spinney. I started off my career as an engineer. I got a degree in engineering from the Ohio State University in 1998. Just dated myself, shouldn't have done that. And then I worked as an engineer for a little bit, and then I went to law school. I met someone while I was working at Exxon Research and Engineering in New Jersey who was an engineer and was thinking of going to law school, and I got talking to him and said, you know, I'm really enjoying sitting in front of a computer running calculations all day, but I think if I can turn it into something of more of an advisory, more of a writing profession, that seems to suit me a little bit more. So I took a chance and I applied to law school, ended up going to Notre Dame for law school. So I was there for 3 years, graduated in 2003, and been working as a lawyer for the past 20 years. In my spare time, for fun, I do a little bit of volunteering around town. So I'm chair of the Grafton Farmers Market Committee. I'm vice chair of the school committee, of course. And then I help out with some other fundraising, like the Grafton class of 24, 26, and 28. I help fundraising for those, the Bon Voyage Committee, that we're raising money to have a senior night lock-in, the night of graduation. And I'm also vice president of the board of Apple Tree Arts. I have 3 kids, Kat, Colin, and Maddie, who are a senior, sophomore, and 8th grader in Grafton, and they keep me very busy too, although they're much more independent than they used to be. They really don't need me much these days. And I have a house up on Potter Hill Road with 4 chickens and a dog. So I enjoy that. I enjoy gardening and traveling, and that's me.
And why only 4 chickens?
Because I actually just inherited them from a friend who's moving away. So she had 4 chickens. They're beautiful chickens, and we're taking very good care of them. And so that's why only 4 right now. Maybe.
So with all those accomplishments and all those things in your background, you have no educational background to speak of, right?
Not as far as a profession goes, but I have been working with Grafton Public Schools for about 8 or 9 years. I started off volunteering in the North Grafton PTG, and I volunteered for a year. I ran the yearbook club, and then the next year I was elected president, co-president, that is. So I served as co-president of the North Grafton PTG for 3 years. Got to know the students, the staff, the principals at North Street Elementary and at NGES very well. Really got integrated into the schools and got to hear a lot about what's going well, what they're struggling with, some of the financial issues that they were having, and some of the things that the PTG could help with to help supplement some of those funds that were needed. And had a really great time, got to know the kids really well, and that sort of was my foray into working with Grafton Public Schools. So I think that gave me a really nice basis for running for school committee after that. So I ran for the first time in 2000 and started my first year with a bang as the pandemic had just come to fruition. And that was the first item of business as I was indoctrinated into the school committee was figuring out what we were going to do and how we were going to keep school going during COVID. And there were so many unknowns. It was such a challenge, but I think we did an amazing job of it. And then, so that was a 1-year term. And then the next year, I was able to run again for a 3-year term. So I've been on the school committee now for 4 years.
So you have a lot of balls in the air. You're constantly on the move.
A couple.
You've got-
Wear a few hats, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it that way, yeah.
So your involvement in Apple Tree Arts is behind the scenes,
Pretty much,
not
yeah.
on stage.
No, well, no. Every once in a while I jump up there, but
Unofficially.
it's behind the scenes, yeah,
Okay.
very much.
And then the farmer's market must take up a lot of your time, I would imagine, even though it's seasonal.
It's not that bad. I mean, we have a really great committee who works very hard, and yes, it is seasonal, but it's a lot of fun. I think with some of these things, I'm sort of using another part of my brain than I do in my professional life, so I really enjoy that. And I think it's great. Sometimes, I just love sitting on the common during the farmers markets and talking to vendors and talking to customers, and it's sort of it's a break from my day, a much needed break. So even though it is some work, it actually is a little bit of a stress reliever at the same time. But and so I really do enjoy that.
Do you think that the average citizen who might have interest in running for school committee gets intimidated by the fact that, gosh, I don't have any educational background?
Well, I hope not. I think...
But you could understand why somebody might think that.
Yeah. I hope not. I think anyone who pays attention to what's going on in town, watches the school committee meetings. When I was preparing for my role on the school committee, I watched those meetings. I was watching the finance committee meetings. I was watching the select board meetings and trying to make sure that I knew what was going on, that I understood the budget, that I understood everything that was going on in the process. And I've been involved in things that are going on in town for a while, and I had been before running for school committee the first time. So I think anyone who's involved, even whether they have kids in school or not, I think you can still find out what's going on in the schools, and you can still get involved. And I would hope that people, if they really have a passion for that sort of volunteerism, that they wouldn't be intimidated. Now, that being said, it is a lot of work. So I would hope that people going into a role like this in the future would be ready to do a lot of work and to prepare themselves for the role, because it is a lot. There's a lot of very important decisions that come our way all the time, and we have to be educated, and we have to be open-minded and get all of the facts, do our research, talk to people, get other opinions, because we're 5 people, we have our own experiences, but we need to find out what's going on outside of that, and make sure that we're able to bring the best discussion to the table and to be able to make the best decisions for Grafton Public Schools. So I think if you're willing to do a lot of work, and you do have, I think it is important to have some experience and exposure to the schools and to things like budgets, policy, and the function of the superintendent, which are our primary things that we're responsible for. Then they could do it. But this year, I hope that people will vote for me, though. And then next year, or in future years, when there's an opening, yes, please don't be intimidated.
Right. Who was instrumental in helping you make the decision to run for school committee the first time? Because obviously you're not from Grafton.
I'm not originally from Grafton.
Right.
I've lived here 22 years, so more than I've ever lived any place, including the town that I was born in. I think it came from within, really. I think I feel sort of called to do different things in my life, and I feel sort of responsibility to use my time to help people in the best way that I can. And so I think in early 2000, I was watching the school committee meetings, and there was talk about the override, and And we started talking about COVID as that was coming and what are we going to do? And there were a lot of debates, there were a lot of hard discussions going on, and I found myself sitting in my living room and talking to the television and offering my opinion. And I felt like there was a point of view that wasn't in the room, and I thought that I could offer that. So I thought, I think I could help. I think I could be useful. So I decided to run, and there was an opening. I wasn't, ousting anyone. It wasn't. So it provided a nice opportunity to fill that role at the time.
You mentioned the budget. You mentioned COVID. Is the process of the school budget every year the same? Start at A, end up at Z?
Pretty much, yeah. It's formulaic. We have a standard process. There are rules about when we have to vote, when we have to present that to the town, when we have to present it to the select board first, and then when that is presented to the town. So the process and even the timing is pretty formulaic. Obviously, what's different is what goes into that. So those do involve a lot of discussions.
How is COVID still affecting the student population, if at all?
I think
Or the faculty, for that matter.
I think both. I think, the students who are graduating this year were freshmen when COVID broke out. So they had a very different start to their high school term. And I think there are sort of two things that we're seeing, and they sort of play against each other, I think. One of them is stress and anxiety, and that's with our students and with faculty and staff, because they're stressed out too. I think they work so hard, but they have a lot of challenges before them. And the other one is with attendance. So one of the things that we saw during COVID was, of course, we're telling the kids, if you're sick, stay home. If you have COVID, stay home. If you've been exposed to COVID, stay home. We want you to stay home, stay home, stay home if you're sick.
And then it snowballs.
And then it kind of snowballs. And then kids you'd go to school if you had the sniffles, or if and parents would kind of, I'm guilty of it myself, kind of, pushing the kids out the door saying, you're
Unless
fine.
you're in an ambulance, you're going to school.
Yeah, you're fine, just go. But then we, COVID goes away, or pretty much goes away. It's still, obviously it's still there, but it's not as big of an issue. But then we still have this culture that's a remnant of that time, which is, okay, well, we're supposed to stay home when we're sick. We're supposed to stay home when we're sick. And also with the stress and anxiety, that's keeping some kids home a little bit. And the school district is looking at that. We do have an attendance issue in Grafton and across the state, probably across the country as well. And so, we're really looking at what do we do about that. And the first step, and I brought this up at a meeting a few weeks ago, was we really need to see what is the real cause. Is it kind of what we're seeing? Is it students staying home too much because they're sick, because of stress and anxiety? Are they not taking school seriously? Which, we don't know. We don't have numbers to put on that sort of thing to be able to figure out a solution. So I think I'd love to see us work through that, and to be able to bring kids back to school more often, to decrease those the numbers of missed classes, and set the kids up for even more success. So I don't have a solution yet, but I think we know where we need to go to get there and address that. And then, of course, with the stress and anxiety, I think our school district has done a great job looking at that and providing opportunities for kids to reach out, providing helpful resources and things like that. Could we do more? Of course. So it's something to keep an eye on as we're moving forward. But I think overall our district responded incredibly well to what happened, and I couldn't have imagined a better response. I think they did a great job.
What do you think is a more likely scenario? Do you think that kids come to school with stress and anxiety on their mind, or do they get to school and then it kind of blossoms?
It's hard to tell. It's different for every student, right? So I think stress and anxiety is prevalent in in people's lives so much. I don't think I could answer that. I don't think I could say, because it's going to be different for every student. But I think we have to assume that it's probably both and react that way, because there's things going on at school. There are we have to consider that when we're addressing any changes or pushes in our attendance policies too. I think because kids, if they are staying home because they're suffering from anxiety or depression, I think we have to respond to that in a meaningful and a thoughtful and compassionate way, and kind of be open to being able to provide them what they need to get there and feel comfortable in school, be happy in school. But of course, I want every kid to be happy and look forward to going to school. I mean, that would be ideal, right?
Yeah, it would. It would. I think back to being a student, and that was the first thing that came to mind when I think of questions to ask anybody on school committee is that puzzle, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, so to speak, because my anxiety always started Sunday night.
Oh, yeah, of course,
so
yeah.
It's like, not looking forward to Monday morning to school. So.
I mean, mine does now, right?
Yeah,
It's Sunday evening, you start thinking about the week ahead, you start thinking about first thing Monday, and it feels like the weekend's already over. So yeah, sure, that's part of it.
Okay. I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk to the voters at home, and that's your camera over there. So I'll just step back and let you go to it.
All right, thank you. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Spinney. I'm running for school committee this year, and I've served 4 years on the school committee thus far and have worked very hard for the district, and I would love to be able to continue to serve Grafton Public Schools another 3 years. So please vote for me on May 21st. If you'd like to get more information on me, you can find information on Facebook. That's facebook.com/Liz Spinney for GPS. Thank you.
Thank you for coming by. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
My guest in studio this afternoon has been Elizabeth Spinney. She's running for re-election to school committee. On behalf of all the talented people here at Grafton TV, I'm Bob DeToma. Thank you for watching.